It's Happy Hour again from Uptown New Orleans. Hello, I'm Grant Morris. Happy Hour is part of the family of shows on the podcast network. It's neworleans.com. When you walk into a bar in New Orleans and you pull up a bar stool, you never know who's going to be sitting on either side of you. What you do know is no matter what they look like, what they're wearing, whether they just got out of a limousine or just got out of jail, they're going to be happy to talk to you. Because that's New Orleans and this is Happy Hour, a cocktail-fueled 60 minutes of random conversation with folks who have nothing in common. Other than we're all New Orleanians in a bar today, we're at the fabulous Wayfair on Ferret Street, which is a couple of blocks down from Napoleon Avenue, right across from the European Wax Centre, where they have a 3-hour happy hour here every day from 3 to 6. That's at Wayfair, not at the Wax Centre, where everything is half price, including drinks and appetizers. They do an awesome brunch on the weekends. That's Wayfair on Ferret Street, and this whole show is live on something.
Periscope.
We're on Periscope today. So if you've ever...
Go Periscope.
If you go to Periscope and you're not watching this live on Periscope, you can see the whole... Do they archive it as well on Periscope?
Yeah, if we think so.
This is an experiment because Facebook, here's a sentence I bet you thought you'd never hear. Facebook is down. Did you hear that, Jamie?
I think it might be back up in the last 15 minutes. Am I
Is
wrong?
it?
It's not.
It's not, apparently.
Well, something happened on my phone, so I thought, but yeah.
It looks like it's coming back, and then you try and get on. It's not there. This is Jaime Glas, who's a clothing designer, and who made the clothes she's wearing by a company called Haute Work, Haute Work.
That's the first time I've been called a clothing designer.
What should I call you?
Well, most people say engineer.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was.
Well, you were an engineer.
Yeah.
Well, I used to be a girl.
I've never been
People
called...
don't call me a girl. You're not an engineer anymore. Or do
Not
you like?
anymore.
Would you prefer to be called an engineer?
How about a fashion engineer?
A fashion engineer. Oh, okay. I can do that.
Is that zippers?
Can we do that?
Is it?
I like that.
No, it's more than zippers. She made the whole thing.
Yeah, it's the whole thing I made.
Okay, I'm going to call you a fashion. I'm going to write it down with my new pen, which reminds me. Hang on, before I go on, I have to tell you that today's Happy Hour was brought to us by Noel the Pans, which are the people who make this pen. The only pans made from a fallen Audubon Park live oak tree.
Wow.
They're one of a kind, expertly crafted and limited edition. They're writing instruments that add little gree-gree.
Cool.
To try
Can I
that
hold
out,
it?
Jamie, yes, it's a beautiful pen.
Ooh.
Actually, it writes great.
I like
it's nice
the
and heavy.
weight. Yeah, it's heavy.
That's a big one, and there's also
Oh,
smaller
I can write
ones.
on the table here.
It's also brought to us
Jamie.
by Basics on Magazine Street near Jefferson Avenue. That's your name, right?
That's
Jaime.
That's it,
What happened to the
Jamie.
extra I in Jamie? Why did they leave that out?
I don't know. My mom liked to speak French, so she thought she'd call me J'aime, like I love, or Jamais. But then everyone calls me Jamie.
But J'aime has a apostrophe in it.
Yeah.
Joanna Devine is here. She's French, right?
No.
Isn't Devine,
I was like,
isn't Devine a French word?
Irish. Totally Irish, Grant.
Don't you speak French or something?
Well, a little bit of French, but only if I'm backed into a corner and really have to go to the bathroom.
Well, I thought you spoke a bit of French because your mother lives in France.
She does. My mother does live in France, and she speaks French really well. So does my stepfather, who was born there.
Oh, that's why your mom lives there. She dragged him over?
Well, he dragged her over, yeah.
I mean, other way around.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
okay. Now, Joanna's a singer-songwriter who's going to play a couple of songs for us in the course of the show today. And Dr. Nick Pejic is here as well.
I speak a little French.
Do you speak French? Do you, Nick, really?
I took a French class on the l'Union Française in Bretagne, and I nearly got kicked out. They called me the enfant terrible.
Why? What did you do?
Because
that
I
was
asked so many questions. I was just curious about all the grammar, and I'm nerding out on that.
Well, you know why Nick asks a lot of questions? Because he's a psychiatrist.
That's right. Yeah.
So that explains it. So are you...
This is me fun.
Yes,
Yeah.
could be good, couldn't it? There's good
Yeah, I like
combination.
this.
Absolutely.
Yes, so I think Nick's first question to you was, why would you call yourself a fashion engineer? Would that be right, Nick?
En français?
Oui.
Oh. Qu'est-ce que tu appelles... I can't.
That's pretty good for one
True,
class on
yeah.
Britannia Street. What?
No, it was multiple classes. And my mom was in the other section of the class, so they used to report to my mom how bad I was doing in the class. And then they would tell me, your mom thinks you should study more. I mean, it was weird.
How old were you at this
Right,
point,
yeah.
Nick?
It was like last year. It's true.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really?
I'd go after work. No, so fashion engineer, how can you prefer to be called a fashion engineer rather than a clothing designer?
Because I was an engineer by
Okay.
background. For about 6 years, I worked as a petroleum engineer for Chevron and another smaller company in Austin. So, I went out to the oil field every day wearing these big, baggy, Smurf, flame-resistant suits, that you see, like, plant workers walking around in. And I was like, there's got to be better than this for females. So I made one, and then I made a company out of it. And then I quit my job a year ago, and now this is what I do.
But you think it's like a come down to be described as a fashion designer?
No,
like an
no,
engineer
no.
sounds
No.
Like you've got an education where fashion designer sounds like you just do a lot of drugs.
You know, I guess you said in the beginning, like, we can say whatever we want on the
You
show.
can.
So when I was going into college, I don't know if I've told you this before, I did want to be a fashion designer before I wanted to be an engineer.
Okay.
I always loved clothes, but I thought only one in a bazillion make a really good career out of being a fashion designer, but it's pretty easy to make a good career out of being an engineer.
That is still true, though,
So
right?
it is true, yeah. So you know, and I thought I loved math and I did all this hard schoolwork. My family wouldn't approve of me just being a fashion designer. So
There's a lot
but
of engineering.
I got the last laugh.
There's a lot of engineering in fashion. I mean, there actually
Yes.
is a lot of engineering that goes into, because you have to make everything in reverse.
Yep.
I mean,
Everything's
you have to
very
reverse-
technical.
Yeah, you have to reverse engineer every piece of clothing, don't you?
You're right. Every pattern is, you know, there's angles and dimensions that you have to pay attention, and it's all, you know, backwards of each other. So yeah, you
So
definitely
would
have
you
to
say
know that.
you created the onesie for the field, petroleum engineer field,
Mm-hmm.
but are people wearing these out and about because they're in fashion now?
You know, I could probably say a handful people are. They're probably just people that I know, because we definitely just cater to like the industrial market, and I go to like companies
Okay.
and stuff like that. But I do get stopped all the time, like when I'm wearing this around town,
Right.
people saying like, "We love your jumpsuit. Where'd you buy it?" And so I'm like, "Oh, it's industrial workwear, but you can wear it if you want."
Okay.
Do you
know?
make sizes for guys like Nick, say,
Yeah.
for example?
And
Yeah, so everyone asks about the am I going to make men's clothes?
Right.
Because really, they're not that great for men either.
I think you look great in that, Nick. You're wearing a
I
suit
don't know, I'd
right
show
now.
my muffin top.
No, you could cut it from. I mean, you have to cut it differently.
Yeah,
from
you have
men,
to
I
cut a
suppose.
little differently. I mean, I think that there's definitely improvement. So maybe one day. I'm going to stick to the female
So, but-
population of clothing is so much smaller, like what's on the market, than the men.
That's
so
the
I'm
whole
just trying
thing.
to.
That's the point. But
yeah.
the point about this is, though, that it's flame retardant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the big deal.
Yep, that's
Now,
the
what
big
about
deal.
these zippers? These must heat up too.
Yeah, so the zippers are just brass, so they have a really high melting point. So
they
that's
don't-
the point in for the zippers, they have to not be able to melt, but
Okay.
they all are backed by flame-resistant fabric. You can't have any metal touching your skin. So
Right.
like all of these snaps and stuff will have like a backing on them. See?
So this doesn't actually touch your skin here?
Yeah, no. It's supposed
That goes
to
on
be
the
just
outside.
snapped
Oh,
here.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So that's part of the code that regulates flame-resistant clothing is NFPA 2112. I've read it like 50 times, and
Hang on, let's look
regulates
it up.
how you do
NF
this.
Sounds like an ambient.
National Fire Protection Association.
National Fire Protection Association.
It's a
That's
group within OSHA.
Okay.
And the code is an OSHA regulated code. So
All right. Hey, thanks
Boring
also to
stuff.
Hangover Destroyer, the only all-natural product medically proven to prevent a hangover. If you go to hdestroyer.com and you write happy hour on the coupon code, you'll get 30% off of your first order of Hangover Destroyer. So you too can seize
does
it
that
all.
work?
Does
Has
it
anyone
work?
tried
It's medically proven. It says
I
right
need to
here.
try that.
It's the only all-natural product medically proven to prevent a hangover. Do you
Okay.
drink a lot?
I don't. I mean, I'm
You should
from
go
New
into
Orleans.
business with these people.
But I did give up liquor and wine for Lent, which is why I'm drinking beer. I would never have just been like, give me a beer.
You
But
gave up liquor and wine.
Yeah.
But not beer.
the only thing I like, I'm only drinking
Are you
things I
doing
don't
it
like.
for you or Jesus? Who's the beneficiary?
Well, both.
Really? What does Jesus get out of you giving up alcohol?
It is
Or-
the baby
I'm a
Jesus
better
or the
person.
31-year-old Swiss-looking, lightly bearded Jesus.
That's the Jesus we're talking about. What is it? Are you religious, Nick?
In my line of work, it's hard to stay religious in some respects.
Why is that?
You just see so many terrible things happen to people.
You'd think that there couldn't be a God, given all the shit that goes on.
No, I mean, if you want to get into it, I think that the afterlife kind of story is probably way more profound than the one we find in any text that we created, or there's nothing. And,
You mean the afterlife as a sort of an incentive to be well behaved? Otherwise, you're going to spend eternity in hell, or what?
Well, if there's anything after our lives, it's complex thought here, but
Well, we've got plenty of time.
yeah,
and
there's
drinks.
Yeah, I'm
basically,
interested.
I know I've been reading about quantum mechanics and what they're learning about like dark matter and how this world may be a simulation, so to speak, where if you view something, it then comes into reality.
Okay.
Like the human.
So the
consciousness- the observation changes
itself,
the
right.
the reality itself.
Right.
So the consciousness plays a bigger role. If that's the case, then after we die, where does that consciousness go? What does that link to? And the simple story is like, don't do bad things and do good because you're going to go to hell or heaven. To me, is not as sophisticated of an answer to me. I think it's
Well,
probably
no, it was invented thousands of years ago before there was even an iPhone or even Google
Right.
or even Facebook.
And
So,
so
they had to come up with a simple yes or no binary thing at the beginning.
And there's a lot of control, of the population through, I think, religion. At its worst, at its best, it's,
But when
causes people to do great things.
People come to you, supposedly, I guess, a lot of the times when they have no hope. They're looking for hope. They're looking for some
Right.
reason to live.
Yeah, I think that hope and trust as a therapist or psychiatrist you want to provide to people, and I really believe in that.
So do you tell people there's no God and you might as well just
No,
give up that
because
idea?
I think that would be what they say. It's arrogant to believe and arrogant not to. I don't have the answer to that, and I don't think I do, but I know that I can control my own behavior and affect change in someone's life. And if I do that, and that's a good thing, then maybe they'll do good and things are all better, and then we end up at happy hour pounding beers. No,
Yeah, that's my point to giving it up. It's to be a better person myself. I was like, hey, I don't really like myself after drinking red wine because I'm really hungover the next day and I'm not getting a lot of good work done. So that's why.
So you just quit for 30. How long is it?
Well,
40 days?
46. I think.
Where do they get that from?
They backtrack Easter. They started Easter, right?
Mm-hmm.
I actually
It
I
ends
don't
at-
even know.
It ends at Easter.
Well, I know, but that's where they.
Yeah,
Thomas.
Easter.
40 days in Lent, although it is like 47 days long because they take Sundays off during the 40-day
Oh, no,
intervals.
that's like-
Isn't that crazy?
No, come on,
I
is
did
that-
that until
is
I was
that-
in my 20s.
Is that true, Thomas?
Yes.
So
Yes,
you can have a
yeah.
drink on Sunday. You can have a glass of wine on Sunday.
Yeah, that's true.
No, well, people do that, but
Yeah,
that's
like
not.
you can
That's not where the
abstain
number
from
of days comes from.
Yes, it is.
It's 6 weeks long.
It's 6 weeks long. I'm totally right. I'm not. Why would
Like,
I? Why
because
would I
they
lie to
wanted
you?
to cheat 6 times.
No, why would I lie to you? No,
It's not
it's like
cheating.
it's like
There's 6 days
6.5 weeks, and there's 6 days off. So it's like
Yeah,
Lenten
yeah. That's
season.
why. That's why they cheat. They're like, oh, I don't have to do it for the full time, so I'm going
Oh.
to choose the Sundays to cheat on.
Why are
But-
the,
no,
so
but
are
hang
you,
on,
are
Jamie-
you ask? What are you asking? me? Are
Jamie's
you
saying
asking
that.
me-
Jamie's saying that's cheating. You're saying this is in the original.
Are you saying like
text.
why are the Sundays off?
No,
What?
I'm just saying like, why is Lent 46 total days? Like when he,
Oh
you know,
yeah,
Good question
that,
right there.
Like that, I don't know.
yeah, versus 40 days.
Something
and
to
40
do with
nights.
crucifixion.
I thought.
Yeah.
Wait. Does it have to do with like the fact that Christ walked around after he was
For
crucified
40 days.
For 40
For 40 days.
40 days in the desert.
Yeah.
But
I don't
No,
know.
that was the
But
Jews
that would
that
be-
were wandering
but-
in the desert for 40 years.
that was
But-
a different story.
but
Yeah,
that's
That's a
a
whole.
sorry.
That was 2,000 years earlier.
And then yeah,
But that doesn't make sense anyway, because that's after the resurrection, and this is the season leading up to his crucifixion. So like, that seems in contrast with each
I
other.
think-
I
Jesus,
don't
it's
know.
a little sad that nobody
Clearly-
knows
clearly
anything
we're
around here.
uninformed.
I know.
This is where C-Rock comes in.
Isn't
This is
this
why we have
wrong?
C-Rock.
No one's good Catholics here.
well, that's because I'm Catholic, but when I go to church,
Well,
I go
you're
to
not
church
a good
every
one.
Sunday. I'm not a good one. Yeah, I
Why
don't think
not?
I've ever read the whole Bible.
You're not going to burn in hell anyway
No,
because
no.
you're
Yeah,
a
I
flame
don't know.
retardant.
I'm not going to burn if I go.
Wouldn't that be? Are you going to be buried in this thing?
Probably.
Will it last forever?
We'll find out. It lasts for
What?
100 washes.
How are we going to find?
Flame resistant for 100 washes.
Is that right? You've only got 100 washes.
Yeah, only 100.
So after
Gotta
you've
get a
washed it
new one
100
after
times,
that.
oh, that's
It's
good for your
capitalism.
business, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
Awesome. And does it really not flame retardant after? Could you?
I
sell
don't
it
know.
on
We'd
eBay
have to
after
try
that?
it. We'd have to try it. That's just what I'm told by the fabric. I mean, the fabric
Okay.
people have to have the liabilities.
Okay, so we could. So when you're on the oil rig, this is what it's built for, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're out there on the oil rig doing stuff. What are you wearing this because the thing could catch fire, or that you could walk past something that's really hot? What is the actual danger?
No, yeah, it's like arc flash. So sometimes you're around things that can catch fire. Yeah, it's not just hot. I mean, heat. This is gonna. I will actually die of heat stroke if I like walk by something super hot because this is it's very trapping of my body heat.
But when you're out, oh, really? So
yeah,
it's hot
yeah,
to
yeah.
wear.
Yeah, actually, when
You
they
must be
first
hot in
when
here
when
today.
OSHA first passed the law to require flame resistant clothes, like down in Texas and like out in California, lots of people were dying of heat stroke from the flame resistant clothing they were wearing.
Jesus
So they
Christ.
weren't dying of the fires; they were dying of it being too hot and like the Nomex.
Bad deal.
Yeah,
That
so
sounds
like
like
all
a-
these fabrics now have like moisture wicking properties and
So how much do I have to pay to look groovy in my...
This one's about $198.
It's not bad for a onesie.
Yeah.
What'd you pay for this suit, Nick? Way more than that.
And it won't protect you
No, you're going to go up like
in the flames of hell.
a flash.
I don't wear really fancy suits.
It looks nice. It's a pinstripe,
Where's that from?
dark pinstripe
Brooks
suit.
Brothers.
Okay. What?
This show is brought to you by Brooks Brothers.
I mean, that's reasonable. Like Carhartt coveralls are not much cheaper than that.
No,
regular
yeah.
co-
Yeah.
right.
Hey, they're a competitor. Don't say their name.
We can't. That's why he's not on the mic.
It's not like a boutique price necessarily.
Right.
Joanna, what are you wearing today?
Today I'm wearing some secondhand clothing.
Where did you purchase
Yes.
this?
I think I purchased this online from a ThreadUp.
What, you buy secondhand clothes
Yeah, I
online?
do actually. Well, because it's sort of like a rental program. Like I send my clothes in, and then I get clothes from them. It's sort of like you get credit,
It's
and
a
then
it's a swap.
It's a swap, basically. It's an
With
online
people you
swap.
don't know online.
Yeah, I know. Some people don't agree with this, but I find it
How
fun.
did you stumble on this even?
I don't know. I think a friend told me about it, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I started sending my clothes to ThreadUp when I was, done with them, and they
what's
give
it
you money
called?
for them." ThreadUp.
Thread up.
Yeah, like Thread Up as opposed to
So
Thread Down.
is it free?
Grant, be careful. They're not paying us.
Yeah, they're not paying us, so I don't know if you want to go there. I don't know if you really
Well,
want
not
to go
yet,
there.
they're not.
I mean, it's free. They send you this huge plastic bag with a mailing label on it, and you put your stuff in there and send it back to them.
I've
and then-
heard of this.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't
But
actually
if I
know
was,
anyone who's ever
but
done
if I
it.
was if I was in a situation where I needed a fire retardant suit, this is exactly what I'd be wearing. I
Oh,
mean, what
good.
Jamie
Oh,
has
yeah.
on is fantastic. So I
Thank
gotta
Well,
say,
actually, you wouldn't have anywhere else to buy one because this is
It's
the
true,
only
this is the
fashion
only-
forward fire
that's
retardant clothes in the
exactly
world.
right.
That's right,
exactly
that's right.
Is
So I
anyone
would
else
much
doing it
prefer-
now since you've started doing it? Has someone tried to steal this idea off you?
There's two companies in Houston, two girls, women who kind of are trying to, but they haven't really gotten to a point where they have products or, they're just like, hey, we're going to do this. I
So
don't
there's
know.
nobody else doing it.
Yeah,
I
no
mean,
one
I
else
could
right now.
say that too. I could say, hey, I'm going to do it because it is a great idea.
Can
Yeah,
you make one
yeah,
that's
yeah.
not flame retardant and just have people want to wear them because they're cool?
Yeah, I actually have made some sequined ones that are in the same
Nice.
pattern that this is. So, yeah. But
Do you
I
dress up-
haven't commercialized it yet.
Do you costume for Mardi Gras?
That was the intent, but then I actually started another business venture for clothing for like Mardi Gras and stuff that kind of blew up. So we didn't have time to.
And this is Sparkle
this.
City?
Yeah.
Now, what is up with Sparkle City?
This
What
is new
that?
since I've seen you last
Yeah.
too. Well, remember the last time I saw you, I showed you some sweaters I was making.
Did you?
Remember? Yeah, we were in Lafayette.
I remember I saw you in Lafayette, but I don't remember seeing any sweaters.
Yeah, so we made some like.
Did I
some
try them
Saints.
on?
No, you didn't try
Oh,
them on.
the
I just
Sa-
showed you
oh,
a
the
picture.
football
I showed you a
ones.
picture.
Yes,
Yeah, they
yes,
were
yes,
like
yes.
Saints and LSU
Right.
and all these sweaters. Some of them have rhinestones, but it's like knitted in. And then so we made these, and like all of a sudden, like I think we sold to 28 boutiques in New Orleans.
Wow.
Over like in the Saint season, and then we sold over like 5,000 of those, and then we did some Mardi Gras stuff. So we're trying to make fashionable fan apparel.
Okay.
So stuff for like teams or holidays.
We're talking tight knit and or loose knit.
Like loose knit, like
Wool
big
or cotton?
gauge. It's cotton acrylic.
Yeah.
I can show you all pictures.
Do you have to have a license to do fan apparel? Like,
Oh, that's a good
you know what I
question.
mean? Do you have to license the logo or the team
Here, you can
stuff?
maybe look through some of it here.
Oh, yeah.
Like those are the Saints ones.
I thought you made
so
these
you
for some
do-
sort of big football game at one point.
We
Is that
did. We made a bunch of
For LSU versus Alabama.
LSU Alabama. That's how we
Yeah,
started.
right.
We did an LSU one for LSU Alabama. And now it's become like a big thing.
So this is a big deal. So you're like a real fashion designer, just like I
Now
said.
I
I'm
am a
going
real
back.
fashion
I'm going
designer.
back to my original statement in that case.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's
Yeah.
just never thought I'd hear it, but I like
That
it.
is pretty amazing. Okay.
But yeah, so trademarks. The like Houdat, for example, we use Houdat has a lot of litigation behind it because the NFL owned the trademark for the term Houdat. Then they dropped it in 2010 when the Saints were going to the Super Bowl because they wanted local businesses to use it. Then some guy in Texas picked it up, and then he tried to sue the NFL. So then they were like, no, this is going to be a common phrase. So actually a lot of the, and then everything else we've used, like for LSU, we just use Go. Because Go Tigers is trademarked, but not Go by itself. So we've tried to get around it,
Loophole.
not using You know, but eventually we would.
So
probably
you have the
to
word
get it
"go"
licensed.
and the tiger's colours, like got
Yeah, like
purple,
in purple.
and then you don't have the word "tigers" on there. Do you have a lawyer?
Genius. Yeah. Well, I'm dating one, and then I have lots of lawyers.
How's that working out?
It's good.
Okay.
I guess.
How long have you been dating?
No, it's good. A year.
Oh, that's quite a while. Okay.
Yeah.
How'd you guys meet?
Well, wow. Here we go. We met actually in high school. He was like,
Keep
no.
the flame
We
alive.
didn't. We knew. I've known him since elementary school, but he's 3 grades younger than me.
Oh,
So
Lord.
I never
That's
would've-
illegal except
Yeah, I
in
think that
Louisiana.
would have
Yeah.
been illegal in high school. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would have never talked to him, but then I ran into him about a year ago when I moved back to Louisiana from Texas after I quit, and then
What sort of law does he practice?
he practiced regulatory and environmental law, like he deals with Public Service Commission.
Okay.
So you guys saw
That's
each other
about
at
as
Whole
far as
Foods
I
or
know.
something, or where did you run into each other? I like
Would you like
these
to hear
stories.
this? No. Actually, he was. If you want to know the specifics, he was in Tampa for New Year's a year ago, and he's best friends with one of my best friends from high school's little brothers. So they were all on this trip together, and Nancy, my friend, was like, "Hey, Hunter, Jamie's back in Baton Rouge, and I was in Baton Rouge at the time, and she's single, and he was dating a girl, and I guess took me on a date, and then broke up with her, and blah blah blah."
Got to secure the next deal.
Yeah. Well,
Very-
he's like, "You were the
very
cheerleader girl I had a crush on."
You were a
so
cheerleader?
I was in high
All
school.
right. Okay. Hey, listen, we're going to stop for just a moment and take a break and be right back after this. Hey, we're back, and we're going to listen to a song by the world famous Joanna Devine. Joanna, we haven't had you say anything at all yet.
Oh, you just can't hear me. I think my mic's turned down.
What we haven't got to you because I want to talk about you play in a band called. What's it called?
Yeah, Riverbend Ramblers.
Riverbend
That's the
Ramblers.
current iteration. We've had many names.
It's confusing.
Yeah, it is confusing.
Because
I
it's
agree.
you and a couple of the guys from the Lost Bayou Ramblers.
Exactly.
The Lost
Yep.
Bayou Ramblers are from Lafayette.
And New Orleans, yeah.
And the Riverbend Ramblers are
New Orleans.
from the Riverbend area
Right,
of New
exactly.
Orleans.
We only play within like a 3-block radius of our house.
Of the Riverbend,
yeah,
because
exactly.
you live in the Riverbend.
Yeah, so it's just like
And-
a walking thing. Like if we can't walk to a gig,
Okay.
we don't play.
And you're in this band with your husband, Andre Michaud,
Yeah.
who is one of the founding members of the Lost Bayou Ramblers.
Yes, that's exactly right. He's the accordion player and steel player, but he let me borrow his steel to play with the Riverbend Ramblers. So that's what I get to play, which is pretty
Okay.
fun. Yeah,
So
in
the
20
Riverbe-
years I'll be great.
So the Riverbend Ramblers is you, Andre, and Eric Heigl, who's also in the Lost Bayou Ramblers.
Exactly. Eric Heigl plays drums and guitar and other piano,
Okay.
if there's a piano, and whatever else is around.
But you
so.
have a separate career as a singer-songwriter.
Yeah, I did for a while. I mean, I haven't really played that much solo lately, but we'll try it out today and see how it goes.
Did you put that on hold since you've been married or something?
No, I mean, I played I went over to France actually when my folks moved there and had a recording contract with Universal Music and was a songwriter and worked with a few artists there, just mostly writing for a few years, about 3 years. And I really liked the writing part, but the selling myself and kind of performing part was a little.
You don't like performance?
I do like it. It's funny, people talk about music like, oh, you're an artist and you're a musician and oh, how wonderful that must be. It's really hard work. I mean, I
Right.
really admire people who do it full time and who have the wherewithal to promote themselves and to promote their band and to do all the recording and touring. I mean, it's really hard work. So I don't know.
Well, you're lucky in that you have other skills.
I have other skills. Exactly. I
You
have
can-
a lot of things I like to do,
Yeah.
so it's also kind of hard to pick one. But
you're a
I
great
do love
singer,
playing
and you
music.
have a couple of great albums.
Thank
If you're
you.
listening to this and you want to go and check out, Joanna is spelled Johanna, and you can find it on Spotify and everywhere else you can steal music from. The two albums are called Mile High Rodeo,
And Electric Tide was the second one. Yeah.
Yeah, they're both really good. Check it out, Jamie.
I am.
And you can
Thanks.
listen to Joanna playing right now if you'd like, because we have a guitar right here. Hey, Nick, grab that.
You have a very good name to be a.
Isn't she got a
Joanna
great name? I
Devine.
know.
Do you have a second guitar?
Miss J. Devine.
All right, I got it. It's ready to go.
So if you're looking for Andrew Duhon, Andrew Duhon is away today, but you can find him at andrewduhon.com and see if he's in a city near you, which he probably is, actually, especially if you live on the West Coast. Okay, Nick, you're allowed to talk into the microphone. Yes, it's okay.
I played for an open mic, or I was hosting an open mic in Buddha Belly, and down on Magazine
Is
Street.
that right? You're the host of the open mic at Buddha Belly on Magazine Street. Are you serious?
I was hosting it it was once per month on Monday nights. We called it Monday Night Live. And, and so I was just thinking if she had an extra guitar, I'd fiddle around behind her.
Yeah, that would have been
Well,
great. I wish I'd known. I would have brought an extra guitar.
It's okay.
Well, Nick, we can get you to play as well in a minute. Don't you think,
Not
Jamie?
us.
Jamie, you and I are not allowed to.
Yeah, we'll just drink.
I may need a beer for that.
Okay.
All right, we'll try
Jamie,
one.
what are you playing?
This is a song called Lulu St Marie.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of squeezed in here. I hope I don't.
I know, it's pretty tight.
Let's see.
Are you okay?
I think I'm good, yeah. Lulu St Marie. She's so easy to love. You'll see all those pretty brown eyes, how they sparkle. And she lights up a room with her smile. If you like what you see, by the next 2 or 3, and she might hang around for a while. Oh, Lulu St Marie. She's so easy to love, you'll see. Well, she can drink you right under the table. Don't you laugh, 'cause I've seen it before. Once she went 14 rounds while the sailors all drowned and passed out over there on the floor. Oh, Lulu St Marie. She's so easy to love, you'll see. Well, she's more woman than you can handle, more man than you'll ever be. Yeah, it's true that no one holds a candle to Miss Lulu St Marie. Oh, Lulu St Marie. She's so easy to love, you'll see. Thank you.
Look, there's even people
everyone
in the
can
restaurant are clapping. How about that? That's very, very unusual. I tell you, that's hardly ever happens.
What do you mean?
People in the restaurant we had a guy here playing the trumpet and nobody even turned around. You have to be really good to get people at Wayfair to actually care. That's impressive. That's a great little song.
Thank you.
love
Thank you.
When
That
did you write that?
That was inspired by moving to Louisiana about 10 years ago,
Yeah.
actually.
And you do you move from Texas too?
I moved here from Texas too. Yeah,
And Jamie,
I'm
you
originally
moved
from
here from
Tennessee,
Texas.
but
I'm
I
from
moved
Texas.
here from Austin.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I came from Austin. I was in Houston, then Austin,
Yeah.
then straight here.
You know, it's funny. A lot of people don't like Texas. Like I got a rental car. My car got messed up. I got a rental car, and the guy gave me a rental car with a Texas plate. And immediately my thought was, oh shit! Like people are gonna run me
Right,
off the
thank you.
road. You know? I don't want to have a rental car with a Texas plate. It's funny. There's this real Louisiana Texas
Right.
kind of.
So what happened to that band that you were in a band for a while that I loved that sort of came and went very quickly? What was it called? Go something or other?
Oh yeah, Go Kinba. That
Go
was fun.
Kinba.
Yeah,
How do you
was a
spell
fun,
that?
That was a fun project. GOKINBA. We still have. I think we're still on Facebook. I mean, Lord only knows. But it
I
was
don't
really
think
fun.
Facebook works anymore.
Yeah,
though. You have to get
Facebook
off
doesn't
Facebook.
work. Yeah, actually, that's
back yet?
probably
Hey,
a good
Xerox,
thing,
see if you
but-
can find this band. Go. Is it up online somewhere?
Yeah, I think it's online. You can just look up Go Kinba. KINBA.
Is that, there was one
yeah.
great song that you had
Yeah,
called
yeah.
I.
I
what's it?
stands for. Yeah,
I
we
stands
actually got
for.
a lot of radio play. It was really
Yeah,
fun. We
it's a
did
great
this
song.
this little EP with like 4 songs, and a couple of them got.
I
some
thought that
play,
was
and-
going to go somewhere, that band. I thought
You know,
you'd
me
stumbled
too,
into something
except
really
my
good.
friend Naoki, who was the DJ, she moved to New York, and then my friend Roy, who was the drummer, he moved to Birmingham. So it was sort of like we did this.
Band broke up.
Yeah, the band broke
That
up
was
like
quick.
2 months after we
Wow.
got together, but it was really fun.
We'll see if we can
Yeah, it
play
was really
We'll see if
fun.
we can play that.
Oh,
So
yeah,
Nick,
okay.
what do you play? You play the guitar too.
I do, but it's one of those things where I've been slaving away at songwriting, things like that, and singing. Singing to me is the hardest thing to master. It's a especially if you never learned to sing when you were younger. Did you learn to sing when you were like a teenager or earlier?
I mean, learned? What do you mean learned? Like,
well, did you start singing out and about and have any training?
Not really.
I used to listen to Smashing Pumpkins, and I'm a baritone more so. And if you're a tenor, I think it's a word for a guy who has a higher voice. Mm-hmm. Like this great movie, The Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's a tenor, had great control over his voice. And what I learned, I took singing lessons from this guy named Guy Tem up on in Broadmoor.
Opera.
And no, it was like rock singing, but he's an opera singer himself. And he was telling me, there's no such thing as great range necessarily. It's knowing your own range and wielding that and understanding how that works. And my mom even tells me like basically suck at singing.
So your mom's very judgmental.
What's up with your mom?
Yes, I learned from Billy. I learned from like
show?
Billy Corgan, who's the screecher, and he's like a tenor, and I didn't know I wasn't a tenor. So like Scott Weiland or maybe a guy from Pearl Jam, Eddie Vedder.
So you're comparing yourself to people who have gigantic careers in the rock world, and I'm not sure that
they begin with the end in mind. You know what I mean?
So
if you're gonna do
you're
it,
aiming high. You want to be a rock star.
No. I just want to express myself and have a formulate a well-crafted song. I think there's a beautiful art in doing that, kind of like writing a novel or a screenplay, but a song is 3 minutes, and you have to kill your darlings sometimes to make a really great song.
What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, what do you mean?
Well, if there's a great part or you have a great kind of guitar lick that you want to incorporate, but it doesn't really honor the song isn't king, so to speak. Kind of like a loud drummer. If you can rock at drumming, but you aren't good melding with your band and you're overpowering it, it's like too much salt in the soup.
Okay.
So
That's a good point.
Okay. So what sort of stuff do you write? What do you? What's going on in your psyche?
A lot of my open mic stuff. I really learned not to play some of the more sincere stuff. I think, like your song, that was a beautiful song. You have a beautiful voice. It's well crafted. But for me, I need to work on that music and probably write or play more covers to be more entertaining, kind of keep people going to the bar and staying in the bar. There's kind of that pressure as a musician.
But you're a psychiatrist.
Well, but
why do you want to? I mean, I don't mean that's psychiatric.
No. I'll tell you why. I think work will only give you so much, and I love doing what I'm doing, but I need to pull out of it. Like I can't work 12 hours a day and feel good about the last quarter of that day. I need to get out and do other things that make me feel like I'm growing. And for me, the biggest thing, next step for me, other than well, the next big thing would be to become a really good musician and just play with more people and be in that community.
Are you a naturally good musician? Are you in it?
I can play by ear. Yeah, when I was a kid, I could play by ear, but like anything, you just have to practice. And you talk to any of the greats, they like Billy Corgan. He played in a room as a teenager for 4 hours a day for 4 years, and then he got out of there and he was a rock god.
So you're a big fan of Smashing Pumpkins and Billy Corgan.
Yeah.
What does your mom think of them? Does she like them?
She kind of can't understand. She can't understand it. Kind of like her dad couldn't understand the Beatles as much because he was listening to Glenn Miller,
Well, I prefer Glenn Miller to Smashing Pumpkins too. What would you if you had a choice,
If I
Jonah?
had a choice, I hate to say this, and I'm sorry if this is unpopular, but I would prefer Glenn Miller too.
I'm on your side. That's what James.
I'm on your side.
You're the Smashing
But
Pumpkins.
I have an older brother, so I grew up listening to Smashing Pumpkins forever.
But Glenn Miller, I mean,
they're different.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
different.
If you could only have
And
a desert island, and you only had one of those people.
Glenn Miller
Then I hope those aren't my only two choices.
But if you were on a desert island and you could only have one or the other,
You'd either have Glenn Miller or Billy Corgan.
Siamese dream.
A horrible island.
Smashing Pumpkins, man. Some of the best guitar solos that you ever hear. I mean, that guy's wickedly good. But I like Connick Jr., his early stuff, when Harry Met Sally. I love Black Crowes or So Soulful. I mean, it's too many to name,
So Nick is also the host of a podcast, by the way, called Mindset.
Yeah.
And then two podcasts. Another one called Questions from the Waiting Room, which was also a very popular podcast, actually.
Yeah.
Great
They're both,
podcast.
they're both really good.
They are.
Yeah.
Where do you listen to them?
You can listen to them anywhere you get podcasts.
Anywhere you get podcasts,
Yeah.
as you always say.
Where do you get your podcast?
The little purple app on my phone.
Yeah, just hit podcast and search for Mindset,
Yeah.
and next podcast will come up. And did you ever talk to Harry Connick Jr. on Mindset?
No.
Did he ever agree to do it?
Harry Connick Sr.
Senior.
I got to interview him,
Right.
and during that time, I showed Harry Connick Sr. a picture of me at Tulane Monroe's dorms as a freshman. I'm from Indiana, originally. I
You
came
went
in
to
'96, and in my dorm, I had Harry Connick Sr. Running. He was running.
Junior.
Harry Connick
Senior.
Sr.
You had a pinup
I found
poster of
something
Harry
in someone's
Connick
yard
Sr.
walking back from the booth. I found this Harry Connick Sr. sign. He was running for re-election for district attorney, and I just saw the name Harry Connick. I'm like, I'm taking that. And I plastered it on my wall, and I showed him the picture. I showed Harry Connick Sr. the picture of me with his sign in the back. I go, give this to your son, show him it, tell him that, I'm a big fan. And, I've met Billy Corgan in person,
You did?
randomly 3 times.
Was your mom there?
She, no.
3 times. You've met Billy Corgan 3 times.
And I met Kevin Griffin, who I love as a songwriter. He's the lead singer for Better Than Ezra. And then I never met Harry Connick Jr.
How do you do this?
Yeah.
How do you all these
I saw
You could hang out
Reginelli.
backstage, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
Kevin Griffin was in front of Reginelli's with Tom Drummond one time, and I walked up to him. I said, "Hey, what's that chord you play in that song Rewind?" He was like, "That's a B minor or something," and we talked guitar stuff. And I was like, "All right, I'm going to stop creeping you out, let you eat pizza." But Harry Connick Jr., I never met him, and this fall I was walking down in the French Quarter, and I literally ran into Harry Connick Jr. 15 feet in front of me. And I'm like, oh, here it comes,
This is it.
Wow, this
and
is
I
a big
approached
one.
him, and he totally was like, thanks a lot, man. Like, and he kind of gave me the hand, like the Heisman. And I'm like, okay, I'm creeping him out. Some like middle-aged dude wearing a suit asking for an autograph. I didn't ask for the autograph, but I thought we would have a lot to talk about. Apparently, it's just a fantasy in my mind.
Yeah.
what was your opening line? What did you say to him?
I kind of fumbled my words. I was so shocked to see somebody like that right in front of you. And he kind of had an entourage around him of people that he was going to dinner with. He was going into Irene's cuisine. And I never got a chance to really
The new one or
open
the old
up.
one?
The new one.
The new one.
Now, you know a lot about Irene's
The old
cuisine.
one is on
Yeah.
my street, or it's like
Okay.
around my corner. I live on
You'll-
900 block of Charters.
So you moved to the Quarter.
I've been
How
to
are
the Quarter
you,
since
How
I
are
moved
you
here.
liking it?
I love it. But that's why it took me so long to get here.
Oh, because you have to get out of there. That's
get
why you
out
like-
of there.
What happened to Irene's? Why did they
They
move?
moved it to like closer to Canal. It's like Bienville and maybe off of Charters.
And who was he with? Was he with any of those extremely good-looking women
No,
that
he
he
was
hangs
with
out
a group of maybe middle-aged, maybe older folks who I don't know who they were. I just thought it was so neat to see a guy like that. He was dressed casual. I think he went from.
Was he?
As opposed to like a tux or.
When he was touring during Harry Met Sally, that era. I
Now
mean,
you're
that
going
guy
back
was
here.
suave. He created his own brand, or someone created that brand for him. And what I love about him is he's a proficient musician. He can play the hell out of the piano, rather than just being a crooner. I think Frank Sinatra was a drummer originally.
Was he?
Really?
Well, Harry Connick Jr. is actually a jazz piano player. He can really play.
Oh yeah,
He's a great piano player.
James Booker taught him.
Yeah, right.
I love that
Exactly.
about him, that he's not just like a pretty face. I mean,
What did you say to Billy Corgan when you met him? That was more successful.
So this is kind of
apparently.
interesting. When I met I met him 3 times. I'll tell you briefly about each one. The first one, I got thrown backstage at Lollapalooza. I somehow found him, and I didn't think anyone was going to believe me that I met him. And I thought security was going to remove me. So I asked him, what song are you going to open with? And he told me the name of the song, which is called Soma. And I went back and I told them he's going to open with Soma, which they never opened with, and he did. And he was studying the set list, and he said, I can't talk right now. I need to focus on this.
Was this before there was digital cameras or something?
Yeah,
You
this is
couldn't
when I
tell?
was 16 in 1994
Okay.
in Miami.
How'd you get thrown
The
backstage?
Beastie Boys were so loud that and I was getting I needed your suit probably to survive this crowd.
Yeah.
I got thrown over the top with about 25 other people. And
You
while
got thrown over.
Wow.
During the Beastie Boys set.
we were getting crushed, and they pulled us over. Like during Sabotage comes out, you're soaking with water at Lollapalooza, waiting there all day. And so I'm walking out, and instead of going right with all that security and everybody back into the general population crowd, I went left to like a little opening that went backstage. and I was shocked. I mean, this is like a kid's dream come true to meet your rock star idol when he's in his heyday. I
Yeah.
was totally.
And you're 16.
I was 16, and I played guitar, and so the second time that was when I was like 22, and I was in a club in Chicago.
Do you remember you? I mean,
No.
It's been a while.
We didn't make out or anything. It was just like, I had a picture of him in my wallet I used for inspiration. I pulled it out,
Oh, boy.
and I saw him in the
Oh my
club.
God. Are you a
This is
stalker?
my psychiatrist.
And I showed it to him, and he goes, I know that's me in the picture, but I'm not that person anymore.
Oh, nice.
And I thought that was pretty neat.
And that's why I became a psychiatrist.
Right. Well. Well, and then later when I was 2 or 3 years ago, I was with my wife at a VIP show because now you can afford to do things like that. And he was singing a song here in New Orleans, and I asked him about his voice, and I said, "How did you get on stage with your voice? Because I've heard you say you don't like your voice." And he said, "Yeah, my dad told me my voice was terrible. His dad's a professional musician." He said, "Sometimes you got to just crawl out of that hole and do what you want to do."
You should introduce his dad to your mom. They'd hit it off.
they
the two of
would
them.
hit it off.
Yeah, I bet they would.
My mom's way too conservative.
So
for
that's
that
our
guy. Yeah, sorry.
three interesting questions. First one was, what are you going to open the set with? The second one was, here's a photo of me and
like,
of
what do you think of
in
this?
my wallet. What do you think of that?
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
And the third one was, what was the third question again?
Was
now,
how
what's
did
up
you
with your voice?
Get
if
on
your
stage
voice, and
with
he,
them.
and
Okay.
but he gave me a long answer. He told me about like the genetic origins of his voice
Yeah.
and like the Welsh genetics and how he has a cousin who has the same voice and it skips a generation.
So
and
he's thought about this.
He's super smart about all kinds of stuff.
So, so asking questions is what you do for a living, really.
Understanding how the brain works and probing the brain.
Well, this is a good point, actually, because psychiatry, when I was younger, when I was trying to get to meet Billy Corgan backstage
Right.
at Lollapalooza, the psychiatrist was a person who was like a psychoanalyst. Like Freud, we thought of a psychiatrist.
Right.
Psychologist,
Well,
right?
that was a psychiatrist back in the day.
Well,
What's
that's
the
confusing.
difference?
Yeah.
Now a psychiatrist is not
a
that.
social worker can be a psychoanalyst now. It's like postgraduate study.
But how did that change?
It changed with the advent of lithium and tricyclic antidepressants probably in the 1950s and around there.
Okay.
And what happened, and this is a true story, they were testing lithium, which is just a salt. It's right under the periodic table with sodium. And they found out in hypertensive patients in Australia, I know you're from New Zealand, right?
Close.
And you've interviewed a lot of rock stars because you were awesome in the 90s when you had the show, right?
I did. I don't think I
Does
ever
that
interviewed
hurt?
Billy Corgan, did I?
No, you interviewed, I think, Eddie Vedder or Kurt Cobain, though, didn't you?
I have spoken to most of those people, but I don't
Something like
know.
that.
Can't remember which one's which anymore.
So they give lithium to all these folks to see if it helped up their blood pressure or like studying it, and a
What's
bunch of people.
lithium got to do with Eddie Vedder and Kurt Cobain?
I don't know. I have, sometimes
Nirvana
I have
has a song called Lithium.
right. They do.
actually.
Well, I have flat of ideas, and I have a curious mind. I would jump around too much.
Do you have ADD?
It's a
Because
flaw.
there's drugs for that.
You know, I think I just.
You can try some
You
lithium.
might be able to.
Sometimes I
prescribe
wonder. No, I think I'm just curious, and I
Right.
go
Well,
down
that
rabbit
was,
holes.
that was my question to you. You're
Yeah.
a professional interviewer for a job that's, or
I-
not.
I-
So you're
I-
talking about so that when they invented all these chemicals that treat
They discovered them when
mental
people took
illnesses.
lithium. A lot of people they were less depressed and their moods were
Right.
better. And this was in an inpatient hospital setting, and they were like, "What's going on with the lithium?" And that's how they discovered it was an antidepressant,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth.
So did that cut short the whole psychoanalytic
No,
method?
What happened is when you're seeing a patient for one patient an hour, I think there's a business drive to see more people in an hour, and I think that's one thing where there's, if you could do psychoanalysis or psychopharmacology, the economics of it would push you towards more psychopharmacology.
So you can make more money.
And this is
with
why I don't
drugs.
work for a big hospital system, because I would rather spend more time with each person, and just have more time to connect.
So
'cause-
hang on, just to
Yeah.
straighten up here. You're saying that psychiatry changed from psychoanalysis to prescription drugs because you can make more money doing that because you don't have to have a long, involved conversation
If you
with people.
talk to psychiatrists, I'm saying it's multifaceted, but that's one economic pressure just like in any business, you
Well,
have
that's
to look
depressing.
at the economics.
It is so
Well,
depressing. I need some
I thought we were
lithium.
trying
No,
to
no,
cure
but-
mental illness.
But I will say this though too, alongside that, when you have effective tools to use to treat someone's mental health issue, then you say, well, am I going to talk to this person 4 days a week for 2 years, or do I want to get them well in the next month? And so it's multifaceted.
So you can do the same. Those two things do the same thing. Exactly the same thing. You can talk to me every day for 2 years, or you can give me a bottle of pills.
It's not that.
And
It's
I'll
not
get
that
to the
easy.
same
This
result.
is why it's like the brain is understanding the brain is complex, and in a practice like mine at Atlas Psychiatry, where we work. We have many therapists, and I really push for therapy. And I've been in own therapy when I was coming up, like through a residency, and I found it so helpful. And being on that side of the couch, so to speak, you understand what therapy can do for you, and then I manage the medication part because I'm kind of that's my
You're a sciencey
I'm a
type
sciencey guy. I'm more of a biological psychiatrist, they would say. So when someone has real deal bipolar disorder and they need like treatment, and then I would manage that. But however, if someone comes to me and says, I've had this trauma happen to me, we would use some medications, but they got to work through that through therapy, and that's a whole nother skill set.
Okay. Let's talk about the opioid crisis in a minute. But first of all, Joni, want to play something else?
Yeah.
Yes. Can we make you play something?
Okay, yeah.
Have you got an idea?
I'm just full of questions now
Oh,
for Nick.
you want to ask a couple of quick
that's
questions
okay.
first?
We'll talk about opioids
Okay.
in a minute.
Well, you get the first question when we come back.
all
then.
right.
Okay.
Yeah,
what
well,
are you?
my first, I can ask my first question because I have to tune anyway. But
Okay.
do you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah. Yes, I have 2 older brothers and a younger sister and younger brother.
And did you get turned on to a lot of music from your older siblings, or were you?
Yeah, my oldest brother, he used to drive me around. He's 4 years older than me. So when he was like 16, 17, and I was 12 or so, he used to make me listen to like Octune Baby in the car, long drives in Indiana.
How many kids in your family?
There's 5 of us.
5 kids.
Yeah.
Where would y'all go on long drives in Indiana?
Well,
When
I'm
he's
from
16 and you're 12.
Michigan City. Indiana is right on Lake Michigan, so
Okay.
around the coast. It's about an hour outside Chicago. There's these beautiful dunes and beaches, and along the shore there's Lakeshore Drive, and we would cruise there. There's a lot of like golf courses up that way and like farmland.
Cool.
You know.
I went to Cleveland last week for the first time.
Ah.
Cleveland.
It was cool.
Hello, Cleveland. Were you selling fire retardant
I
clothing
was
to the
meeting with
Clevelanders?
I was meeting with a company that's headquartered up there that wants to kind of do some partnership.
In
do a
what sense?
partnership.
Is
They are a
Manufacturer?
Yeah. They're a very large FR apparel manufacturer that
fire
has
retardant, FR,
flame resistant,
flame
or
resistant?
fire
Resistant.
retardant. I mean,
It
both.
means the same
It's
thing.
both. Yeah.
And what are they making?
They're
What else can
making
you-
mostly men's clothes.
Okay. How many women are there in the fire retardant market?
There's about 300,000 in the U.S.
So you have a potential.
300,000 employees.
Yeah, women that will wear them. Some of that includes people that might have one pair that they wear, like one, when they go out to the field.
There's
Once or twice a
300,000
year.
people, women, working on the oil rigs or in
Or in
factories.
plants, there's a lot of ancillary,
That's a lot of people. So
industries.
how many
It's a
of
lot of
these have you
onesies.
sold so far? Onesies. How many have you sold? Like,
Ooh,
was it
a couple thousand.
okay?
Yeah, but we haven't sold any to big contracts. We just sell to individuals.
You're selling to individuals. So what you want to do is try and get someone to buy them, and buy them for their
Exactly,
company,
but
like
I need
Schlumberger or
I need
something.
someone like this Cleveland company who can make
Make it
thousands
happen.
of them in a
Okay.
day.
I see.
Yeah,
What
my
about
factory's
fire
pretty
departments?
small. Fire departments, they have a little bit more strict rules around it. I mean, you have to wear 5 layers of flame resistant things, but
Yeah.
but the military, like the Air Force, they actually don't have too strict rules.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is
That
interesting.
the
Yeah.
Air Force has less strict rules than a local fire.
I know.
department.
Well, I guess
That's
because
weird,
fire,
too.
you're in a fire department, you're definitely
Right.
going into a fire, versus Air Force, you're hoping you're not.
Okay, Joanna.
All right.
What
so
do you
this
think?
Is, this is a song about a crisis. I'll sing a crisis song.
Apropos.
Okay.
I've got a sneaking suspicion there's been some deep sea fishing going on round People waging wars behind closed doors while we watch all the money disappear. What's it gonna take for you to realize those men are gonna rob you blind? These 3 little words I'm gonna tell you might make you change your mind. The big grab gonna get you, gonna spin you round and hit you till you lose your mind. The big grab gonna take you, turn you upside down and shake you, take away your last thin dime. All mamas in the kitchen counting pennies, all papas in the poorhouse like so many. The big grab got us all down on our knees. Friday, 300 billion went missing. All Monday morning, ain't nobody got a pot to piss in. The big grab got us all down on our knees. Oh, the big grab got us all down on our knees, on our knees.
Okay. You don't hear many singer-songwriter songs about international global economies.
No, well, there's one for you.
Is that what it's about?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
What were you thinking of when you were?
It was. I was thinking about the big mortgage crisis of '08.
Oh,
What
okay.
do you call it? '08.
Yeah, it's like exactly 10 years ago
exactly
today
10
or
years
something.
ago, exactly. Well, it's funny, you sort of forget those things, you know,
Yeah.
and what a huge crisis it was. And I remember listening to the news at the time, and it was like all of a sudden, literally, billions of dollars were just gone.
Right.
And everyone was sort of standing around shrugging, like nobody really knew what happened, but everybody was broke. And
Right.
so it was, I think, at least in my generation, that was the first experience.
That was a big deal for a lot of
people. It
people.
was a big deal for a lot of people.
I think if you had a lot of money.
Memorialize it. I just wanted to memorialize it in song.
Did you write it back then at the
I did,
at the
yeah.
time?
Well, maybe a little bit after.
The big grab.
Yeah, the big grab.
All
yeah,
right.
Which is kind of what it felt like at the
Right.
time. So.
Okay, so what was your question for Nick?
Oh, well, the first one was, do you have any brothers and sisters? And then I was just curious, I was a little more curious about the psychiatrist-psychologist distinction.
Oh, yeah. I want to clarify something, too, about what drove psychopharmacology. I think the effective treatments over the last 50 to 70 years is one of the main reasons why we got away from psychoanalysis a little bit. Also, there's different types of therapy now that we use and so those other effective therapies are one reason why we don't do psychoanalysis. I didn't mean to just pigeonhole it in an economic sense, but that plays a force in the system. Just like you're seeing in hospitals where you can't stay in hospitals as long as you used to because of insurance, blah, 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 blah. The psychiatrist and psychologist. A psychologist is like a liberal arts degree beginning, like in college. So you could major in history or sociology or psychology, philosophy, and then they earn a PhD in psychology or get a PsyD. And their psychologists can do different things, but mainly it's like psychotherapy or it's a psychological assessment. So people who do those forensic files, kind of assessments on like murderers and things like that, or people who assess autism or ADHD. Whereas a psychiatrist has a pre-med curriculum, goes to medical school, so it's a very heavy like organic chemistry. You study everything in med school, become a physician, and then you do a residency for 4 years in psychiatry, and you become specialized.
Okay, Jamie.
Sorry.
Have you ever wanted to ask a psychiatrist a question? Because this is your chance. Have you ever been in therapy?
I have a question for Nick.
Jamie, are you nervous right now?
Yeah.
Can I steal the thunder for a second?
Yes,
Yeah, go
Thomas.
ahead.
Hey, Nick, has anyone ever told you look like a young David Lynch?
David Lynch?
Film
No.
director?
is
Okay.
that?
No,
Film
no.
director.
I've gotten told that
What do you think? I think it's a match. I think it's a match.
Oh, here we go.
Guys
Yeah.
told
Here's
me
his
to
photo.
keep my phone.
people think I'm a friend of theirs a lot. You know?
Have you seen this?
Oh, yeah.
Uncanny.
Yeah.
Look at this
I
one.
wouldn't say
It's pretty
that,
good.
really.
My,
Would you say
one of my
that's
best
close?
friends looks like Ted
Like
Bundy.
that one?
I'd
It's
be
really
more worried
strange.
about
Like,
That is unfortunate.
I know.
that. Okay,
Yeah,
Jamie.
that is
I don't know.
Do you
Ted
have a
Bundy was
question
an
for the
attractive man,
psychiatrist?
You know,
but terrible soul.
I don't.
You don't. You haven't got any psychological question. We always thought if I could only not have to pay the $350, I would like to find out.
In 2 minutes or less.
Yeah.
This isn't for me, but I am curious.
For asking for a friend. Okay.
Asking for a friend. Are you seeing a lot of younger patients?
How young are we talking?
Well, I was speaking at a International Women's Day event last Friday after the Pelicans game, and it was like to elementary and middle school crowd of girls, and all of their questions were around like, if I'm depressed, what should I do? And like, yeah, really, it was actually
So
really,
you're
really
speaking
sad.
as a mentor
right,
to
right,
them.
or like, you know, have any of y'all ever been bullied? And like, what do you do if you are like? And it got me thinking. Like, I think the younger like kids coming up through school see a lot of
Yeah, I
that.
think it's a social media
This is a
thing.
good market
Yeah,
for you here,
exactly.
Nick. You need
Social
to
media.
hang
Well,
out
we have a
with Jamie.
child psychiatrist on our staff named Dr. Lauren LaRose, who's excellent. And we do see all walks of life.
Yeah, I guess you can't really answer that,
Little
but-
kids to older folks. I'm the adult psychiatrist that sees most of like the medically complex or patients with addiction or with treatment-resistant depression. So
We're out of time, but let's get on to
no.
that for
Yeah,
1 minute.
anyway.
1 minute on opioid addiction.
Oh, opioid addiction.
What is that actually going on there, Nick?
Yeah.
You know, so back in the 90s and 2000s, pain was like the sixth vital sign. If someone's in pain, they were taught, doctors are taught to treat the pain symptoms, right? And then I think doctors were more liberal to prescribing of them. However, those medicines work very well and are very much indicated in certain patients. What we didn't know is how addiction worked as much. And the way I think about it is an addiction is a hijacking of your reward system in your brain. And all addictions, most addictions, their final common pathway is a place in your brain called the nucleus accumbens, where you get that dopamine stimulation. Opiates themselves give people energy when they're addicted to them. So if you got energy and you could perform more and you didn't have any hangovers and you could think more clearly some of the time with it, and you feel like you have no depression, it's like that movie where they take the pill in the movie, I don't know.
Limitless.
Limitless, yeah, thank you. Look
Sea
at
Rock.
that. Strong work there. And when you stop an opiate, you have terrible withdrawal. You know, you may have a hangover from alcohol or some tremors or something like that, which can be pretty bad. But opiate withdrawal, you feel like you're dying, and it's intolerable. And that combination of the pleasure from when you take it and the terrible withdrawal is why people get stuck on them, and then they have nowhere to turn. So, as a doctor right now, I can prescribe as many opiates as I want to. Or at least this is the 2 or 3 years ago. Now they're changing this. But if I want to give the antidote for the opiates and treat somebody with something like Suboxone or Subutex or buprenorphine, which is like the gold standard for that, I can only have like 250 people in my practice to do that for, because it's like restricted. It makes no sense.
What is the logic behind that, actually?
I don't have a good answer for that. I think it's just regulation. They're worried that there's going to be pill mills and untrained physicians prescribing all kinds of these opiate antidote medicines. But make no mistake, if you know
Just
a friend with
Yeah,
if
go on,
you know a
finish
friend
that.
with an opiate problem, or someone stealing money for you for drugs, or not showing up for work and things like that, you know, there is help out there. You can find us online, Atlas Psychiatry, or go to Suboxone.com, and there's a bunch of doctors there that are well trained to treat
Nobody
people.
could even spell Suboxone. How do
Yeah.
you spell that?
Suboxone.
Yeah, Suboxone.
I won
Good
the spelling bee
job.
in third grade.
Job.
Third grade
Yeah.
spelling bee champion.
You know, a lot of good physicians on that list.
I did in second grade. So you would have beat me.
Okay, so there is There is hope. It's very
How
interesting.
come you're bringing it up though? Just because it's a topic? It's in
Everyone's talking about
right.
opioid. I mean, how often do you get to talk to someone who knows what they're talking about if you're a specialist in pharmacology?
No, absolutely.
After all.
Are there any specific things you're curious about it?
No, I've never tried any of these things. Have you ever tried these famous opioids?
No, I mean, I was prescribed a painkiller once, but it made me really, really nauseous and very
same.
depressed. Like wasn't good for me. I was
Do you
in
still
a
have
car
them?
accident. No, I was like 16. I hated them. And then my dad hid them from me.
Oh, wow.
Because he knew they were addictive. So
Nick, have
he-
you been
he hid
tempted to
them.
try all these things? Think you must.
Try opiates?
I guess you don't.
You know, I have to say, one time, I had to have an operation, and I had to take opiates, and I was going to a conference the weekend afterwards, or the 2 days afterwards. So I go there, and I was really kind of loopy from it, and I wasn't acting my usual self, and I understood what it felt like to kind of have a mild high from it, but I was in so much pain. That it, you know, I didn't want to miss this conference that I had paid for, type of thing. You know, a stupid idea. Should have
Well,
just stayed.
we have to get out of here, but
Yeah.
nobody ever wants to be in pain. But so now we've invented all these incredible painkillers that totally work, except they screw us up completely.
Yeah.
What's the alternative? What's the
Well,
the right path? now?
So one of my friends, who's a physician named Eric Royster, he has a pain management practice, and he does a great job at using alternatives to opiates.
So there are alternatives that
yeah.
work just as well.
You can have a spinal stimulator. You can have a pain pump where it puts opiates right where the pain is, not to your brain, but to your spine. You can take
sounds
things
like a
like
good idea.
other things that are non-addictive that calm down neuropathic pain. Also getting diagnosed. You know, I've had back pain for 3 or 4 years from playing sports or something, and I saw a pain guy who I just had a muscle spasm that wouldn't go away, and he told me that I need to plank for 3 minutes, and like no one told me that. I thought I had a bone problem, and I'm sure anybody would have given me an opiate 10
Right.
years ago.
Yeah.
But this guy was like, he found it, he injected it, he told me what to do, and you know,
All right.
to feel better.
Do you
Anyways,
do you write prescriptions?
yes,
Do you use a
No.
pen?
yeah, that pen. Can I hold the pen?
Hold that pen. That pen is made by Nola Pens. It's the only
It's very
pen
weighty.
made.
That's like feels like a
It's a
holding
great
grass.
You
pen.
can
Try
practice your
writing.
signature on the
Try
paper.
writing with it. You can write on the
Or on
tablecloth
the
here at
table.
Wayfair. What do
That's
you think?
good.
It's a nice pen.
I like it. I
isn't
do a lot of writing. This would be very nice.
It's a beautiful pen.
Mm-hmm.
It's made by Nola Pens, the only pens made from a fallen Audubon Park live oak. They're one of a kind, expertly crafted and limited edition. And you can find them at nolapens.com. Have you tried it?
I haven't
Joanna,
tried
try
it.
that pen. You're going to love
Oh
it.
my goodness.
Signing autographs.
Also, Basics
yeah.
on Magazine Street near Jefferson Avenue is a
Feels
place where you
really
can get
nice.
fine lingerie. And you can also go next door to Basics
What?
Swimming Gym where you can get a full range of fashion swimsuits, workout, and yoga clothes with style. The Positive Vibrations Foundation create and encourage community through the development and preservation of the arts, music, culture, and heritage. And Hangover Destroyer is the only all-natural product medically proven to prevent a hangover. You get that at hdestroyer.com. Thanks to all those people for making today's show possible. And thank you to Dr. Nick Pejic for being here. It's
Thank
been
you.
great to see you, Nick. And we
Thank
can
you.
can find you at atlaspsychiatry.com and find your podcast, Mindset, and Questions from the Waiting Room, wherever you get podcasts. And Joanna Devine, thank you so much for being here. I looked at your website
Thanks for having me.
before I came here, and it's completely, all the music is gone off your
Yeah, all
website.
the
Now
music's
it's just
gone
got a
now.
photo of you.
Yeah, that's right.
What's up with that? Where can we find
I'm
you?
working on it. Work in progress. Oh, just go to Spotify or
Okay.
Apple, iTunes, any of those. All the free
Okay.
music. Free music. It's just all
So
free.
Joanna Devine is Johanna, and then Divine spelled
Divine. Yeah.
like Jesus
Exactly.
spells it.
Just like
And
Jesus
Jaime
spells it.
Glass has been here as well. Thank you so much for coming along, Jamie.
You're welcome.
Yay! It's been great to have all the three of you. And Jamie, we can find you at Haute Work, which is spelled Haute.
Work.com.
Work.com. And can we buy shares in this company of yours, which is going to take off and be huge at some
Are
point?
you going public?
I'll let
When
you
are you
know.
going public?
No.
Do you have
time
investors?
soon.
No?
Maybe.
No. Yes?
No, I don't yet. But I have.
I think you're onto
interested
something here. I
parties.
think this business is going to take off, don't
Yeah,
you?
I'm trying to hold on to it as long as I
Yeah.
can.
I think Nick would look great in one of these.
You got to take a New York City
Yeah.
runway.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Played Donna Summer's Hot Stuff.
There you go.
Oh,
Ah,
yeah, we
now
didn't
you're
even.
talking.
Yeah, we didn't even go into that. The company used to be called Hot Stuff when I first started it because I thought that was clever and cute, flame-resistant clothes. And then Me Too movement happened, and we changed to Hot Work. Hot Work. Yeah.
Okay.
Needless
Hot
to say
Work.
why.
Hot
yeah,
Stuff
Yeah,
is-
it's a little bit more chic.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. I like
Anyway,
it.
well, good luck with it all, and we'd like to keep in touch with you.
Thanks.
I would love to. It's so great having the three of you. This is like
Yeah.
hanging
Yeah.
out.
Reunion.
It's
We'll
like
have a
hanging
reunion
out at
show
home.
again.
Yeah,
Let's do
let's
it
do
again.
another.
The producer of our show is Graham DePonte, who's standing right over there. Our associate producer is April Lovestoff. Everyone's wearing black here, I see today.
that's true.
Monique Pyle and Christian Owner are our music producers, and Thomas Walsh is our technical director. Ashley Griffith is our Facebook live feed director when Facebook's working, and Andrew Searock is our fact checker and social media connector. Our theme music was written by and is currently being played by Mitch Foreman. If you'd like to be on our show and you can stay upright while drinking alcohol, drop us a line. Our address is on our website, itsneworleans.com. We can also find out many other shows we've recorded here, including Happy Hour, ones that were recorded before today, Out to Lunch with Peter Raschuti, live from Commander's Palace, Louisiana Eats with Poppy Tooker, and our award-winning podcast about death called Death the Podcast. You can also find other great Louisiana podcasts at itsacadiana.com and itsbatonrouge.la. You can keep up with us on a bunch of time-sucking social media, actually. For example, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. On all of it, we're called It's New Orleans. You can find photos from this show on itsneworleans.com and on our It's New Orleans Facebook page and on Instagram account as well. These photos were taken today by Jill LaFleur. You can find more of Jill's photos at lafleurphoto.com. If you listen to this on your favorite podcast app, Jamie, even you can figure this one out. Thanks for subscribing to us. Take a moment to rate and review us if you have one. That helps other people find us. If you're listening to us on Spotify, you can follow us and get Happy Hour delivered to you each week. This show is recorded live today at Wayfair on Ferret Street in Uptown New Orleans. Happy Hour is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsneworleans.com. For Andrew Duhon, who's on the road somewhere, you can find him at andrewduhon.com, and he'll be back here next week. And everyone else around the table here at Wayfair and back at our office at INO Broadcasting, thanks for joining us. I'm Grant Morris. We'll see you back here next week for more Happy Hour.
Heads up, denim lovers! Old Navy's biggest denim sale ever is here. All jeans are on sale up to 60% off. Styles start at just $12 for adults, $8 for kids. Plus, this Saturday and Sunday only, don't miss the Jean a Day giveaway. Want a free pair of Old Navy's all-new jeans? Stop in for your chance to win and for up to 60% off all jeans, now at Old Navy. Valid 9/16 to 9/24, excludes in-store clearance. 5 per day per store. Select styles. Jean giveaway in stores only. See stores for details.